What is going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadskii, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. So this is the big video that a lot of people have been waiting for. Which part of the Sugo-Fest should I be pulling on? All of them. No, I'm just kidding. We're going to go through it today and go through all of the parts, talk about all the characters that are boosted, whether or not it is worthwhile, okay? Want to give a huge shout out to my man Captain Pappy, fellow GGP member, for putting together this infographic. I know it would have taken a really long time to put it together, so shout out to my man for doing it, because we can go ahead and use it to discuss and break down this information much easier. So let's jump over here, let's go full screen, we're in it now. Let's start things off with part 1 of the Sugo-Fest. So let's go through like who's actually available before we actually have a look at the steps, because you have to look at everything before you actually determine, right? So part 1 is on May 11th PST. That's the official start date. Each other part will debut the day after the last one. So these are the rate boosted legends. Now, these characters are going to be the ones that you can pull from very specific steps on part 1 of the Sugo-Fest. On part 1 of the Sugo, all legends are going to be available, including regular batch legends, all Super Sugo-Fest exclusive characters, and including treasure map legends. These characters are all going to be available and pullable on the Sugo-Fest. Not all these characters are going to be like rate boosted though, because that is what these characters are for. All of the new anniversary characters are rate boosted. You got Frankie, Odin, who's fantastic, Dog is awesome, Robin Jinbei, fantastic sub, Ulti Page 1, very good, Lucci's underrated, Vivi's underrated, Whitebeard vs Shanks is awesome, Moria is underrated, and then you've got a couple of other miscellaneous units here. In terms of rate boosted, they seem pretty good, so that's pretty much it. Just all of these characters are going to be available, all legends available, and all of these rare recruits are available on all parts of the Sugo-Fest, so there's a nice little umbrella statement there that all of these characters, you're going to be pulling them more often, at least hopefully. I hope that the rates for these rare recruits are good, because all of them are very good rare recruits. But let's have a look at the steps for part 1 of the Sugo-Fest here. So right below my face cam you can see part 1 structure. A lot of guaranteed rate boosted characters. Now, it does say a guaranteed rate boosted, not rate boosted or Sugo-Fest exclusive, meaning that if you get a red poster from a step that says guaranteed rate boosted, it's guaranteed to be one of these 20 legends. So at least that's kind of nice to see, that if you do get a red on one of those really awesome steps, then you will be getting one of those units in particular. And then guaranteed legend on 2, 3, 4, 13, 23, 28. So not that many guaranteed legend steps. Remember, it is a 15% chance to get a red. So you should be seeing at least 1 to 2 reds per multi on average. And then you've got the 5th multi in particular, which I know a lot of people are really hyped about, because it is a guaranteed new character, which meaning it can be any of the new legends. Kaido, Luffy, Ace Yamato, Hancock, Nami, Robin, or one of the new rare recruits being Zoro, Sanji, King, Queen, Jack. So there are a lot of characters you can pull from it. If you get a gold, it's guaranteed to be one of these units here. If it's a red, it's guaranteed to be one of these 4 units at the top. Pretty straightforward, right? Then you've got the 6th, 10, 15, 25 multi. That unit is a guaranteed rate boosted legend. So that is just going to be one of these 20 legends that are available on part 1 of the Sugo-Fest, guaranteed on these steps, 6, 10, 15, 25. Then you've got this one right here, the 8th multi and the 18th multi. Each poster has a 50% chance to be a Sugo-Fest exclusive. That's pretty wild. I think, personally speaking, I'll probably go to 8 on part 1 and see how things goes. And it really comes down to the rates as well, because remember, all legends are available on part 1 of the Sugo-Fest, which means the rates are going to be skewed in really weird ways, and we hope that the new characters at least have a somewhat decent chance to be pulled. So we'll see how things go. Hopefully the rates aren't too bad. The 20th multi, you guarantee yourself a Super Sugo-Fest exclusive, so you're guaranteed to get one of the new ones, being Luffy, Kaido, Ace, and Yamato. Hancock, Nami, and Robin are not classified as Super Sugo-Fest exclusives, so I don't believe you can pull them on that part. But then you can get Roger Newgate, Luffy and the Straw Hats, which is probably the best dupe you want to get. Yamato, which I know people still want, multiple copies of, so they can have the Int and the Psy variation. Luffy, Law Kid, as well as Odin and Roger. All of those units in particular are pullable from the 20th multi here, and then the 30th multi guarantees you a debuting Super Sugo-Fest. So the 30th multi on part 1, you're guaranteed to get Luffy, Kaido, or Ace and Yamato. So it really comes down to the rates on part 1. Considering all legends are available, there's so much opportunity for you to get some really cool characters, but there's also a good opportunity to get characters that you don't want to get at all. One redeeming quality about part 1 though, for players like myself that really like the level limit break feature, is you get to potentially get your hands on a lot of really old school legends that aren't available on all the other parts, like V1 Whitebeard for example. I still need one more copy to get his level limit break to max, and I would love to get that, even though pulling Whitebeard normally isn't that good. You know, you get an opportunity to do that on part 1, so that's just to give you a little bit of a different perspective there. But overall, part 1 seems interesting, all legends being available, treasure map legends being available as well, which I know a lot of people still want to get. I personally don't have Carrot and Wanda. It all seems really good, but let's go ahead and have a look at the rest of the parts. So before we have a look at the characters that are available on parts 2, 3, 4, and 5, let's have a look at the structure, because 2 to 5 have the exact same structure for the rest of the Sugo-Fest, where you've got a guaranteed legend or a rate boosted character on all of these different steps. So many of them, which is really disheartening to see. You've got a guaranteed legend on 2, 3, 13, 16, 24, 28, and then you've got a limited pool legend on 5 and 10, and then a super limited legend on 8 and 20. And then, depending on the part of the Sugo-Fest, you get one of the units guaranteed on the 30th multi. So just in terms of the structure of the banner, part 1 is far superior, but of course on parts 2 to 5, there's a restricted pool of legends, meaning when you get a red poster, you will have a higher chance of getting the ones that you actually want. So do keep that in mind. As cool as part 1 looks, it's much higher chance to get the ones you want, specifically on their given parts 2, 3, 4, or 5. So there you go. Let's go ahead and have a look at part 2 of the Sugo-Fest right here. So part 2 debuting the day after on the 12th, and then you've got this pool of characters here. So let's go ahead and have a look. There's 30 legends available, 15% red rate, likely 0.5% chance per unit. We hope it's going to be the case. But you've got the new Luffy, who's wicked. We all want to get him. Roger and Newgate, who is actually really good. His final tap is still pretty good. It still provides you a pretty good amount of damage. If you don't have Roger and Newgate yet, you want them. They've got the best switchability in the game. I mean, arguably with Ace and Yamato, but still, generically, I'd say Roger and Newgate have the best switch in the game. It's so good, and their special is usable in a lot of different teams. Everyone wants Yamato. She's awesome. Sai or in variation, very good. Good in Rumble as well. You love to see it. But then you've also got some other characters. So you've got the regular legends here. You've got Brook. Kinemon Denjiro, I personally don't own yet, would love to get him. Nami and Usopp, not that good. Robin Jinbei, usable as a sub. Ulti page 1, kind of good. Underrated Vivi. Not a fan of Marco. Blackbeard's trash. Zoro, he's okay. Kaido Big Mom is still pretty good. Germa is fine. Wano Law, I still think is very good. Super Type Sabo, very good for Grand Voyage. Hawkins is mid. Pudding is okay. Komurasaki is okay. Stampede Luffy could be good in the future with level limit break. Vivi Rebecca is good. Mihawk is bad. Bato Cavendish is bad. Carrot is okay. Capone is okay, not the best. And then Big Mom, not that good. Nami's pretty mid. Robin's pretty mid. Dofi's pretty mid. And then Crocodile's also not that good either. So, obviously, the pool doesn't really get that good, but potentially with level limit break in the future, these characters can be very good. But if we just look at the top-end talent of this pool, Luffy, Roger Newgate, Yamato, we all love those units. Then you got Brook, who's actually pretty good, very good in Grand Voyage, I forgot to mention as well. And Kinemon Denjiro is also relatively high tier, but then there's just a little bit of sprinkling of good units along the way. I don't think Part 2 actually looks that good. I'd say Part 2 is really good if you don't own your own Yamato yet and you really want to get her. I mean, I think that Part 2 is relatively fine considering the Super Sugo-Fest exclusives that are available on this part. It makes a lot of sense, and especially if you don't have Kinemon Denjiro as well, very good for Slasher and Free Spirit teams, hella good, very good in Rumble as well, so keep that in mind. And Vivi's really nice. I mean, Ulti page 1, very good to get guaranteed conditional on Kizuna, for example. Very, very nice indeed. And then you got the limited pull steps, of course, so the certain steps that will restrict the amount of characters that you can pull. Again, pretty good pool of characters here. And then the super limited is even better. It is annoying that Marco is here. I probably would have switched him out with one of the other units, to be honest. Vivi, Ulti page 1, Kinemon Denjiro, and Brook, they all make a lot of sense, but Marco being here, that's kind of triggering. Robin Jinbei probably would have been a better addition for this particular pool of legends. So, Super Limited seems okay, and then the Super Limited is on what step again? 8 and the 20th step is where this particular multi will take place. So keep that in mind. Part 2 just seems okay. It's not really wowing me. Obviously, Yamato is a big one. Roger Newgate's a big one, but it's not really wowing me. So part 3 of the Sugo-Fest. Now, before we even knew what characters were available in each of the given parts, just looking at the banner artwork itself, part 3 looks the best, because Ace and Yamato, I think personally, is going to age the best out of all of the 3 debuting legends that are Super Sugo-Fest exclusive. And on top of that, you've also got Luffy and the Straw Hats, which is the best Final Tap character in the game. So those 2 characters being featured on one banner automatically gives this banner a lot more props, honestly. So let's have a look and see what else is available. Final Tap Lore, also pretty good. Frankie, very good. Cat Viper, very good. Katakuri's mid. Hancock is fine. Lucci's okay. Rager's alright. Whitebeard vs Shanks is very good. Mori is good. Kaido's okay. Mihawk's fine. Hancock still has one of the best super types in the game. Smoke is pretty bad. Blackbeard's pretty mid. Very good in Garp challenges, though. Rayleigh's very good for the Grand Voyage. Nami, Robin, Luffy, Zoro, Bullet stay winning. Shiroshi Manchiri, V2, Zoro, yikes. Crack is pretty good. Dex Sabo is okay with his Super Evolution. Brook is pretty mid. Zeph is bad. This Luffy with Super Evolution is still usable, but not really used that much. V2 Shanks doesn't have a Super Evolution yet. Could get one in the future. Could be very, very good. Then you got Gemma, just specifically Judge, and also Corazon. Let's have a look at this limited pool. The limited pool, I mean, yeah, it's pretty much what you'd expect. Half of it's pretty good, half of it not so much. And then the super limited pool, this is a really good super limited step. Honestly, like, this is a much better super limited step compared to the other one. I mean, Ace Yamato, Luffy, Law, Frankie, Cat Viper, Lucci, Reiju, Wanks, all of these characters are pretty good, honestly, whereas, like, Marco, I mean, Ulti Page 1 is not usable in a lot of the Garp challenges and stuff, and then you've got, like, Vivi, who's just kind of there. Vivi's fine, though, but super limited step on part 3 looks way better. If you're looking at this from a new player perspective, Part 3 is probably the best in terms of the available small limited pool so far. Comparing Part 2 and Part 3, definitely the best. Part 4 of the Sugo-Fest, I love this guy Kaido. I think he's super awesome and I really want to get my hands on him. Unfortunately, the other Super Sugo-Fest exclusives alongside him being Kid and Luffy, probably the least desirable ones. Kid is exceptional in Pirate Rumble, as we know. In regular content, though, I mean, he isn't really seeing a lot of play, but he does hybrid well with Kaido at the very least, so it kind of makes sense. Who else is here, though? You've got, I mean, Odin is so good. I think this Odin is super underrated, honestly, even to this day. Dogstorm is great, really good unit, better than Cat Viper, honestly. You've got Dofi, who is actually still pretty good. Perona is fantastic. This unit, you know, honestly, it's kind of funny, because this Straw Hat Crew character, not a lot of people have this unit. And this character is pretty good. Obviously, it does clash because it is a Straw Hat character. You can't use any other Straw Hat alongside them. But still, a good unit nonetheless. King and Queen being featured alongside it makes a lot of sense too. They're exceptional rare recruits, or legends should I say. Magellan is still pretty solid. Vivi Rebecca, okay. Law is still pretty good. The Sweet Commanders have a great support effect. You got Kid, who's pretty bad. Katakuri is basically a worse version of Halloween Perona. Shanks' crew is still fantastic, very required for one of the Grand Voyage content. Sober Mask, it is kind of annoying because I wish Sober Mask was featured on the Luffy part, because Sober Mask synergizes very well with the new Luffy character. Nonetheless, still a good rare recruit or legend to have. Onami, good support. Ace, good support, and could get very good with a Super Evolution or a level limit break in the future. Keep that in mind. Cat Dog, somewhat required for the Grand Voyage content. You got V2 Linlin's pretty bad. Sandy Judge, fan favorite, not really that good though. Katakuri, again, fan favorite, not really that good though. Whitebeard versus Marco, Whitebeard and Marco, not that good. Sandy's bad, you're bad. You could get good with a level limit break. Hopefully that happens. Rayleigh doesn't see a lot of play, and Blackbeard's pretty bad. So again, pretty typical from what we've seen thus far. I still think Part 3 is better just because of the Super Sugo-Fest characters, honestly. I mean, there's still some really good units here. You got Odin and Dog and Dofi, Perona, King, Queen. Good units here, for sure. I don't know, man. Part 3 still looks way better. Limited pool, I mean, yeah, Kid's bad. I mean, you don't really want to get Magellan. You probably do want at least one copy of him, but you don't want too many copies of that for sure. Seems okay. Limited pool seems good. And then the super limited pool, who did they cut out of this? They cut out Dofi and Perona. Interesting. This is a good super limited pool though. King, Queen, Straw Hats, Dog, Odin. Yeah, this is a very good super limited step. Even though, like, the vast pool of the characters is worse, they actually made the super limited really good, because all of these units are desirable in some way, shape, or form. You want to get your hands on all of these units at some point. So I kind of respect this super limited pool. I think it's pretty good. Whereas you look at the super limited pool here, while the Super Sugos are probably more ideal, I mean, you got Reiju and Lucci, who are characters you probably don't want to pull that often. I mean, even Cat Viper, you'd rather have Dogstorm than Cat Viper. Whereas Frankie and, like, Whitebeard vs. Shanks, phenomenal units that you want to have. Even Frankie, to a certain extent, you don't really need him yourself. You can hybrid to get his amazing effects. Whereas, like, in the super limited pool here, like, basically all these other legends are really good, and I guess you can hybrid these two together in a certain sense, but having access to them as crewmates is also very good. So I think the super limited pool for part 4 is actually very good. Alright, we're going to switch things up, and we're going to be on this side of the screen now. So we've got part 5, which is the one with Hancock, Nami, and Robin. So I just want to say this straight off the bat, I do not advise pulling on part 5, just due to the fact that the only other Super Sugo characters that you can pull on this part are going to be Roger and Odin. And while I still think V1 Roger is one of the best units in the game still to this day, I think it's much more valuable to pull on another part where other Super Sugo-Fest exclusives are available to get additional copies for Final Tap or Super Tandem. I just think it makes the most sense, despite the fact that TM Legends are going to be available. I just think the other banners are probably going to be more valuable. But let's just have a look and see what's available, right? So you've obviously got the new unit, amazing. You got Roger and Odin, who are wicked still, especially with the Super Evolution of this Odin is so good. All of the Treasure Map Legends are available. You got Bonnie, who's kind of unique. You've got Ace vs. Akainu, which is still one of the most valuable units to own. V2 Shirahoshi Manshiri, one of my favorite legends in the game. Shanks is bad. Luffy Sanji, honestly, I don't think he's that good, but it's fine. He's good in a sense, but I'm not a big fan of his. You got Sugar, who is still relatively okay. You got Snake Man, who's alright. Mihawk Perona, somewhat needed for the Grand Voyage. Arlong Crew doesn't see a lot of play, but is unique. Chopper's good. Kaido V1 is good. The Quickbeard I still really like. Jack, obviously kind of nice to get the EXP. You've also got Sabo Koala, Luffy Law, Garp, great support, good special ability with Super Evolution. V1 Katakuri doesn't see play. Zoro doesn't see play. Frankie, kind of unique one. And then V2 Fujitora and V1 Doflamingo. You've got some pretty good stuff here, though. I mean, like, the top half being just TM Legends and the Super Sugo units, pretty good. And then you've also got Ace Akainu and V2 Shirahoshi Manshiri to throw in there as well. I think they did a pretty good job with this banner, honestly. Like, even just the limited step was very good. And then the super limited step, so they took out a lot of those treasure map legends. But I guess they kind of left the more important ones, and I mean, Bon Clay is probably the most important one just because he's very good in Kizuna Clash. He's good in a lot of content. Carrot Wanda is literally required to beat the Morgan Grand Voyage event, and then Izo Okiku makes sense because that unit is going to be boosted in the whole, like, Wano celebration, so that makes perfect sense. The Super Sugo units, and then the 2 regular units that they decided to put in was going to be Bonnie and Ace vs. Akainu. I'm glad that that one is here. Bonnie probably should have been replaced with V2 Shirahoshi and Manshiri, in my opinion. That's what I would have put there instead. But still, a pretty decent super limited pool, and hypothetically, if you didn't have any legend and you're just going into a part, this is a pretty good part because you got access to some pretty limited units here for sure. So ultimately, people are going to ask, which is the best part to pull on? If we're looking at the steps here, part 1 is the best part in terms of the Sugo structure, but remember, the rates are going to be bad. The rates are just ultimately going to be really bad, and the chances to pull the units that you actually want to pull is going to be considerably low. While technically you can get the best luck on part 1 and pull the best stuff, the chances of it happening are just way too low for me to recommend pulling on part 1. If you do want to pull on part 1 though, I recommend maybe stopping at the 5th multi where you get a new character, or if you're feeling lucky, you could go to the 8th multi, which is a 50% chance to pull a legend. That is kind of cool, but if we're talking realistically here, I think that if you're a new player, or you're just getting into the game, or you just really need some advice about which one you should be pulling for, I think due to the fact that the final tap unit that they have on it, as well as the aging of these units moving forward, Part 3 does seem like the best. As I said, I think Ace Yamato is going to age the best of all of these legends here. And then the final tap, the best final tap in the game. You can't go wrong with Luffy and the Straw Hats. Phenomenal captain, great special ability, best final tap, and then you've also got Law here as well, which boosts Dex, Slasher, and Cerebral units. You got a great boosting special there, a very unique special ability that can apply that increased damage taken through immunity buffs. Very awesome special, and you've got a pretty decent array of legends here. It's not the best, I'll admit. I think in terms of the pooling of the legends, it's probably one of the worst ones, but you have a couple of decent units along the way here. I would probably recommend going for part 3 just due to those really high tier units, because the ceiling on those units is way higher than some of the other units on the other banners, but the pooling of some of the other legends on part 2 and part 4 are definitely better in my personal opinion. What I'll be doing is I'll be doing a handful of multis on part 1, hoping to get a little bit lucky, and then from there I'll be pulling on parts 2, 3, and /or 4, depending on the luck that I get on the part 1 pulls. Basically, that's what I'll be doing. But I think ultimately, I think part 3 is the best just due to the super restricted units that you can't really get anywhere else. But that's just my thoughts and opinions on it. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down below in the comment section. Let everyone know what part of the Sugo-Fest are you deciding to be pulling on here. As I said, I'll be doing a handful of multis on part 1, so we'll be live streaming when that goes live, so make sure to go down below in the video description, click the link, follow us over on Twitch, as we're going to be doing a lot of pulls over there. And don't worry, because everything that I do over there in terms of my pulls will be uploaded to the YouTube channel a little bit later on, so if you do miss it, it's not the end of the world. But that's going to wrap up this video today. Thank you very much for watching, and if you guys did enjoy the video, make sure to go ahead and leave a like, and if you want to stay up to date with all the content that I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. But on that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.